Option number 2 is faith stepping stones.
Stepping stones. Stones with which one would step.
Stepping stones. Do everything you can to elevate the other stepping stones in life so that confirmation is seen as one of many significant events in the life of faith.
If the thought of not putting another pretty little confirmation picture on the wall of the fellowship hall will get you into more trouble than running off with the church organist, then go right ahead and confirm them all together.
But do everything else in your power to get rid of that confirmation, graduation mindset.
I've tested out another method that is based on a relational, incarnational method, a small group method. And it seems to be working. In a number of churches it seems to be working. Because young people need that individual attention and that care, but they also need their friends, I think it's worth a try.
Led by the Spirit, I do believe.
What does the confession of faith mean to you?
Led by the Spirit, I do believe.
It's relational. The most important spiritual person in my life was Chuck Peterson. He was there for me. He was my mentor. He was my friend. He really cared.
That's the only way it's conveyed, by someone who cares enough to spend the time and to commit to it and thereby testify, this is really important.
Led by the Spirit, I do believe.
The journey from the head to the heart is often the longest journey there is, and kids need to be hit in the heart with heart knowledge and with life knowledge, and where that comes from is through their parents and through the adults who are constantly surrounding those kids, and that's where they'll get the reality of love and how to approach life and how to be kind towards one another.
Who would be more likely to bring a young confirmant to church after they've been confirmed? Someone who's simply been their teacher? Or a good friend who's prayed for them and stayed with them through the thick and thin of growing up? Someone who has cared for them and been there on Sunday morning and let them know that they're missed. A friendship can be faith's incubator in bringing a young person to adult faith, right?
But last year we started Wednesday night workshops here at Our Savior's, and the first thing that I noticed was the involvement of many, many more people than we'd ever had before. The relationships that were built between kids and the adults in the Wednesday night workshop program were different than it had ever been before. The fellowship opportunities, man, they'd be sitting under an evergreen tree out by the side of the church, or we'd hear about groups down at McDonald's or Hardee's or wherever, baking cookies at someone's house. And the neat thing about that is that they just got together and the guide would ask them about what's going on in their life. How's life in junior high? Well, it was really crummy today because I broke up with my boyfriend or my girlfriend, or my parents aren't getting along. And then some of the other kids might say, well, yeah, I guess I'm feeling some of that. And so then the kids would interact and the guide would sort of facilitate that. And when you're doing that around a plate of French fries or a couple of Cokes, the conversation flows pretty well.
Last year was the first year we started with the new program, and the attitudes of the kids is absolutely totally different. And the attitude of the teachers is totally different because the kids are much more receptive. And so, I mean, the way we're doing it now is so much more fun. And the first year we still had some bugs and some of the things, you know, that I would certainly have wished to have changed. And but the kids are so much more receptive. It was much more fun for them, and I think they got a whole lot more out of it. Although I come from a very conservative background, and I'm more comfortable in that old setting, but what good did that do when the kids weren't receptive to it? So.
Here's what you do to start small group ministries. Number one, you've got to get the leadership of your church to consider a broader definition of the term Christian education. One suggested meaning of the word education, educatio, comes from the Latin to draw out. That's not cramming in.
To reach the 90s child, we need a radical shift in our confirmation thought. Information-based programs must give way to relationship-based programs. Confirmation classes must transform into living, learning cells. Individual service projects must be replaced by small groups of friends guided in doing acts of Christian love and compassion together. Sermon notes must give way to immediate feedback, small group sermon discussions. And programs built around classrooms, textbooks, and 55-minute lectures must be scuttled for ones based on the relationship of one caring Christian adult playing, praying, and growing in Christ with a small enough group where they can be befriended. They can know and pray for and care for each student on a regular basis.
Jesus taught the multitudes, but he only really explained himself to the 12. If the Son of God had a small group of adults of 12, and evidently that was one too many, who are we to think we can do better with junior high kids? We need to surround them in a network of support, and that takes a relational model. One pastor cannot begin to do this. Recruiting, training, and motivating and unleashing the people of God. We say we're a church of the priesthood of believers. We need to unleash the people of God in that ministry. The pastor's job has to change. One pastor can't do it alone.
The sense that we have in this culture, this individualistic culture, that your children are not my children. Well, in fact, your children are my children. And I am responsible as a person of faith for the care and safety and security and faith nurturing of your children.
That theme that it takes a village to raise a child that we hear from African tradition is absolutely central, I believe. And in a society, again, that's increasingly individualistic and where children live a very lonely existence in front of that unblinking eye of the television set, is there anybody who cares? Is what they do make some difference? And does it matter to somebody? It has to matter to somebody more than mom and dad.
It was written, what, 2,000 years ago, something like that? And some modern day kids just don't understand what it's all about.
Involvement of moms and dads, parents, all adults involved in the lives of young people and the roles they play in young people's lives are important to us. That you learn and have an opportunity to grow in your faith is equally important to us. Parents and other family members are invited and encouraged to participate any time in this confirmation program. Moms and dads, you're welcome here.
Pastors need help. Even Jesus had 11 friends.
Instead of asking for 1 hour a week Sunday school teachers, we're looking for people willing to immerse themselves in the lives of kids. We're searching for the type of people willing to commit to living, loving, going to sports and school activities, talking with parents, and modeling a Christian lifestyle from the moment the students enter confirmation.
In a sense, you want to marry the confirmation class to the youth program. Cancel the classroom paradigm in favor of a holistic program. Don't think of the church building as your primary classroom. Think of the world, schools, home, food shelves, and Chuck E. Cheese, any place. Mark Twain said, don't ever let school interfere with your education. Then there's turf time. Gear all your growth around Christ-centered relationships with those young people. Tell the guides to plan and spend an inordinate amount of time just getting to know the kids at first, into their homes, at their work sites, at their play sites. And then there's balance. You have to have it. Challenge the groups to strive for balance in worship and service and fellowship together. Teach them by modeling Christly care and compassion. Set up a structure in your own church in your own way to help the teams pray and play and worship and search the scriptures together on a regular basis. Generate servant projects from within the group to develop ownership. Strive to make everything real and relevant and as fresh as you can. In whatever you're doing, whether in teaching or serving or worshiping or just hanging out, be in their lives and in their faces, modeling God's kind of love, God's will, all the time.
Finally, don't give up on anyone. The loudest, most obnoxious person in your youth group is often the one who needs you the most. It's also the person most likely to go to seminary.